Here's another one. Mary Brown, a resident of Florida, files a breach of contract action against Bernie Madoff, a resident of New York State, and against Tim Jones, a resident of the state of Florida, for $100,000. Now what's the answer? Mary Brown, Florida. Bernie Madoff, New York State. Diversity. Tim Jones, resident of the state of Florida. No more diversity, because we have Mary from Florida and Tim from Florida. That means all plaintiffs and all defendants are not from different states. Has to go to state court. I'm hoping everybody's understanding this. You normally get feedback at this time, but it's sometimes they have dual system create some complications, and you may or may not like it, but it's something that actually really does work. Here's some other ones. John Brown and Tim Jones want to challenge the prohibition against gay marriage in the state of Minnesota. Where would this case be heard? Well, marriage is not a federal. The federal government has no power over marriages. Just so you guys know, everybody might think, oh, we should have a federal law on gay marriage. The federal government has no power over marriage. Those are specific powers enumerated to the states. So therefore, it would have to be brought in Minnesota because it is a state law issue. Mary Hartless commits murder in the state of Texas. Then she flees the state and caught in Oklahoma. Where was she tried for murder? The answer is Texas. Doesn't matter where she's caught, it's where the action took place. So hopefully you all are understanding this, and since I'm not getting your feedback, again, if you have any questions, make sure you put questions on the additional discussion board. When we talk about state courts, the issues for state courts are those which interpret state law or those actions based in common law. Contract actions, real property matters, probate family law matters, those are common things. Personal injury matters, negligence, those are things that are normally covered in state courts. As I said before, federal courts are only limited jurisdiction. Everything else goes to state court. Everything else. Only those matters specifically granted to federal courts must be heard in state courts. There's also another difference involving tenure of judges. Federal judges, with the exception of bankruptcy courts where they serve 14-year terms, are appointed for life. All federal court judges have to be approved and have to be appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. They are not elected positions. They are lifetime positions to be a federal judge. Whereas in the state courts, they have some form of appointment followed by a vote, a retention vote, or election. So if you're a federal court judge, you have a lot of job security. You can be impeached or removed from office by impeachment, but that's the only way you're removed. You're there for life. Whereas a state court judge, you have to go through the election process every year, or be appointed by a governor. Which system seems to offer the most benefits and why? It's hard to say, but a lot of times it's considered that a federal court judge, since they're appointed by the president, have to go through a whole process of getting approved, normally get the best judges in federal court. Now, in terms of the lawyer's role in the court system is adversarial. That means you're there, or the attorney is there as a advocate for the client, is to represent the client to the fullest extent of the law within the rules of the court. It's not the court's job to represent you. If you go in representing yourself, don't expect the court to represent you. They're not. They're not going to be there to be an advocate on your behalf. They're not going to be there to feel sorry for you because one side has an attorney and you don't. Their role is to provide a neutral forum where evidence can be heard and a conflict resolved. They're not there as an advocate for you. They're not there to tell you what to do. What they'd probably tell you to do is to find an attorney. Because you're not going to get any leeway from them because you don't have an attorney. Now, on the discussion board this week, the discussion involves, do you think we need both federal and state courts? What's the difference between the two? And what determines if a case is heard in federal court as opposed to state court? Can you give an example of a case, civil or criminal, that would be heard in federal court? How about state court? Now, when you're talking about, do you think we need both federal and state courts? That's the opinion part of it. Okay, you can give your opinion. But when talking about the differences between the two and what determines if a case is heard in federal court as opposed to state court, there you go into specific, you have the site where you gain the information. Can you give an example of civil criminal that would be heard in federal court? That's something you would use, you can look up and use an example. And how about state court? You may not need a citation, examples of a case to be heard in federal court because we've talked about them and we talked about what case in the state court. You give your example without citation if you make up the example yourself. But understand there are parts of that discussion board that will require citations or research. Make sure you use that. So, we're at the end here, and I know this is not the full hour lecture because obviously when we're in class, I'm asking you questions and it's back and forth. But let me give you my final thoughts. Make sure you respond on the discussion board. You support your position with research. Use the APA guides for citations. I have an announcement board that gives it to you. Use it. I'm looking for it. I'm going to correct you if you don't do it right. Please do it right. And please make sure you cite it. Don't forget to post over at least 3 days in a unit. Each 3 different days over the 6-day unit. Your posts have to be substantive. We talked about that last unit. I'm kind of reiterating it now that you just can't have a short post to count as a substantive post. You're going to get marked down. So make sure your posts are substantive, that you are doing a thorough job in your post, and the more posts you have, the better off and the more you're going to get out of the class. And I promise I will be there a week from Thursday, which is, let me check my calendar, is April 5th. I will be at resume class on April 5th. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you contact me by email. Make sure you have any questions on discussion on the Unit 2 discussion board. I made a separate discussion board for questions in this class, and I will see you on April 5th, the same bat time, same bat channel. I appreciate everybody's patience. I hope this works out with regard to the seminar, and I look forward to seeing you back in class on April 5th.